Hello and welcome to the Lab Exhibits and Services podcast. Today I am your host, Melissa Rivera, Director of Client Services and Marketing Manager here at Lab Exhibits. And today I am joined by Kathy Wagner, one of our Senior Account Managers here at Lab. Kathy is an experienced and customer-focused sales and marketing executive with a proven track record in trade show account management. She's an outstanding communicator with expertise in developing and building strong working relationships with our clients, and she is a great part of our team with strong probability-solving skills and the ability to work well under pressure, which all of us in the trade show industry know that is often. As we emerge from the global pandemic and the many unique challenges it has brought us over the past year plus, we're finally seeing the exciting return to in-live and in-person trade shows and events across the country, which is a big thrill for us at Lab. As with many industries, we are now seeing some major changes to the business landscape we work within with trade shows and events. One of the key components that's come to light from the pandemic for us is the knowledge and the need to have new on-site protocols in place for safer participation at every event. This includes all of your on-site teams, any of the venue employees, any third-party vendors that might be coming into your event, exhibitors and attendees as well. With these changes in mind, Lab's been participating in new training and safety protocol classes for our team members and attaining the correct certifications and measures now in place for event venues across the country. The proactive approach is allowing us to still provide our clients with the seamless and successful on-site services they rely on from us. As we navigate through the new policies, Kathy has played an integral role in learning and setting our I&D teams and carpenters up with the necessary tools and certifications needed in each city and event venue. In order to help our clients with this new way of participation in live events, we've put together a few questions for Kathy to help our clients navigate through some of these nuances. So with that said, we'd like to start with our first question. So Kathy, I know that each city is going to be different in what's going to be required for the on-site crews. However, are you seeing any consistency in some of the new policies that the cities and their venues are implementing moving forward?
Well, Melissa, right now, being prepared is the consistency. We have to make sure that we review the rules for each venue, the rules set by the general contractor, and making sure that we are following these, and they are changing on a continual basis. Our new internal protocol for our crew is to make sure that we have enough protective equipment for them, including masks, hand sanitizer, disinfectants, and cleaning materials. We want to ensure their safety on show site.
What types of credentials will be required for the I&D crews to supply prior to working at any of these venues?
Well, the biggest thing that we've learned is that all carpenters anywhere in the country need to be prepared to show that they have updated certified training and that they're staying up to date with all their requirements. However, the biggest example that we're seeing is in the state of Nevada, where they're requiring specific OSHA training for carpenters and for supervisors. And this training includes awareness of job-related safety and health hazards. And then there's a 30-hour class that's required for people who are supervisors at shows. That includes additional training because they're responsible for the safety of their crews at show site. We have ensured now during the downtime of the pandemic that all of our carpenters and supervisors that will be working in Nevada have completed this training. So what's great about having our carpenters and supervisors being trained with the new Nevada requirements is that we can take that training and use it anywhere in the country.
Again, providing that seamless, result-driven type of installation and dismantle for our clients.
That's right. Want everything to be great for our clients so that everything goes smoothly.
Mm-hmm. Smooth, successful, seamless events. Okay, great. Well, how about the exhibitors? Will they need to do anything or provide anything that you're seeing going forward?
Right. So what we can help our exhibitors with is to make sure that they're looking at the design of their booth to allow social distancing. Whether it's a 10 by 10 or a huge 80 by 100 island booth, we want to make sure that attendees can flow through the booth smoothly and feel comfortable and not feel like they're crowded and feel comfortable in their experience of walking through a trade show. We should also consider creating stations with protective equipment if we need to separate a staff person from a booth from the attendee, use touchless technology to limit interaction, and to also provide hand sanitizer stations. The other thing that we have been learning is that we need to plan for entering into a trade show. Plan that things are going to take a little bit longer than we thought before. Understand what your registration process is, how you're going to enter a building. Used to be that you could just go in wherever. Now there might be specific entrances, specific exits. We might even consider some of our transportation needs. Should we be shipping your booth to the advanced warehouse so that we're not worrying about your booth sitting in a marshaling yard for a long time and then it's not on the trade floor? When you want to get your booth started to set up, we're not letting I&D crews wait. So there's a lot of variables right now that we have to read about, plan ahead, and make sure that we're prepared so that we're not causing delays and that we know how we can prevent any issues on the show floor when we want to start doing our installations. One more thing is to also consider the EAC registration, which is considered the exhibitor appointed contractor, so that we want to make sure our exhibitors are processing that information correctly. We can help with that. We usually do. There's been conversation in the industry about being prepared with that way ahead of time instead of waiting until the week before installation. Mm-hmm. So all these things that we have to do to prepare for a show, we have to start building in more time to do them.
So, like before, we still needed time for developing and creating our events, but now with the new landscape, we're looking at, we need to just make sure people understand that everybody is going to require more time than we did in the past to get some of these things done, as well as then the additional components that are now put in front of us. So I guess for our clients, our exhibitors, our prospects is something just to keep in mind that with the landscape changing, timing is going to be more probably important and key than it was before in terms of building out more time to get a project to completion.
Right. Something that I do with my clients now and we'll start building more time into is kind of a timeline. Like this is when we need to have all your art files for your graphics, and this is when you need to make sure you have all your orders placed. So if the deadline is June 30th, let's not wait till June 30th. Let's get it done ahead of time, because the general contractor will come back and say, that's not right, you did something wrong, or we have to correct this, or we need more information. We might miss something. The exhibitor needs to make sure that we've covered all the orders for them, whether we're ordering or we're helping them place their orders. So building this timeline and following a schedule is really helpful in keeping us on track as well as our exhibitors.
Yes, I would definitely agree with that, Kathy. So with that then, also, are there resources that exhibitors, even I&D companies, might be able to look at to get more information on their upcoming events? I know something that you had said earlier about looking at the entrance into a building. Something else our clients should know is when you're traveling, you may also have some special requirements at the facilities that you'd be staying at, your hotel or your Airbnb or things like that. So you might have to prepare for that as well. I know travel is also being, it's increasing heavily, so you may also want to build in some extra time when you're traveling via plane.
Great idea.
Yeah.
That, besides the things that we are always concerning ourselves with as far as, our crews and what's going on at the show site, we can also help our exhibitors prepare for those things and keep them up to date with information and keep sharing information, and rather overshare at this stage of the game than not read everything. The biggest thing we need to keep in mind, as we've been saying, is to stay up to date on everything because it's ever changing. All the general contractors and the show venues are constantly updating information on their websites. So it is really our responsibility and our exhibitors' responsibility to make sure that we are reading all this information. So during the time we were on lockdown, we used this time to train our carpenters and some account managers as well in learning about protocols about what to follow during a pandemic. Fortunately, we're starting to turn the corner. However, it's good that we have had this training because we are learning about how to manage things if something does happen at show site. If someone gets sick, if how we're going to clean the booth and how prepare the exhibitor to be ready for the show.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that also brings up a good point, too, about, if somebody does test positive, how does that change the landscape of the show? If they all of a sudden find out that they've had a COVID positive case, what does that do to the show? Do they tell people? Do they not? And because I'm guessing that they're going to say you're entering at your own risk, like they were talking about earlier.
Right.
But, be smart and, do the things, sanitize your hands, use your mask, don't shake hands, and social distance.
Right.
I know that there's another guideline too, or another place that our people can go and look for some resources and information. That's the cdc.gov that will tell us about, some of the COVID-19 vaccinations in the workplace and things like that. That will help them also to help guide their path through.
And at these events, a lot of the general contractors or the show venues have hired or have trained someone on their staff to be a pandemic compliance advisor. So this advisor is trained to be able to handle the situation on the show floor. If someone gets sick, how to remove them safely from the show floor, not cause a panic on the show floor, and help them get the proper care that they need.
Since each city or venue is going to have most likely will have different requirements, today we thought we would also share a couple of the changes that we're seeing specifically in two of our major show cities, which is Chicago and Las Vegas. First, let's talk about Chicago. Kathy, can you tell us some of the policies that our team is going to need to adhere to, as well as maybe exhibitors, when working in Chicago, specifically McCormick Place, as that's the biggest venue out here?
Right, that's our big venue here. So I've been attending biweekly meetings of different exhibit companies and exhibitor-appointed contractors. It's like our Chicago Zoom biweekly meeting, and talking about what goes on at McCormick Place. And it's continually changing and updating. So all companies are going to re-register with McCormick Place. We'll have to submit a list of everyone that would be entering the building. So account managers, salespeople, carpenters, everyone.
The whole company.
Right, the whole company. So our old IDs with our pictures that we had that we didn't like, we're not going to have those anymore.
Thing of the past.
Right. So we're going to be receiving a directive on how to re-register everyone. But what will happen is you'll get your new ID, you'll go up to a kiosk at a specific entrance, check in, answer COVID questions, and then you'll be issued a wristband for the day. And then go to work, do your thing, follow all your safety protocols, and then when you leave for the day, you have to check out again. So this is for McCormick Place use. It's such a huge building so that if something does happen, if there's, say, in one of the buildings, somebody got sick or something happened, they know who's in the building, who to notify, and can keep everyone safe.
Yep.
So the other thing, too, is that McCormick Place is still going to require that everyone wears a mask, and that to make sure that all exhibitors also have hand sanitizer in their booth. Now, as we said before, this could be ever-changing as well, but for right now, that's where we're at.
And we know that they're going to have sanitation stations throughout the venues anyway, too.
Right.
Is their responsibility to their guests
right.
and employees as well.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, where you check in, all around the building.
Yeah. So the check-in and check-out will be a little bit different for the workers versus the exhibitors. The exhibitors should still be able to get in with their registration badge when they come on site, do you know?
The exhibitors would probably be getting their registration badge from show management. So those rules would have to be followed at that. There would be probably a specific entrance for exhibitors and a specific check-in location for them, different from people who are working the event.
Do you think that they're going to be doing temperature checks for the attendees and exhibitors when they come in?
That's been up for discussion. it's been going back and forth.
So all those new technologies are coming out for temperature scans and things like that. So I wasn't sure how that
that hasn't been.
Growing.
We've been talking about that on our Zoom calls, but it hasn't been decided yet. Hopefully, shortly, sometime in June, we'll be getting very specific instructions because we have shows coming up very quickly in McCormick Place. So
I think ASI is the first show that's happening, advertising specialties, and then I think the auto show is our second one.
And then the auto show, right.
Yeah. So, okay, well, so with Chicago, hopefully that gives some insight as to what's changing here locally for us in our state. But then let's talk a little bit about our second major show city, which is Las Vegas. As we know, or some people have known, we've already started hosting live events with limited capacity in May and social distancing included. However, Nevada is very committed to opening up their state to pre-pandemic days as soon as possible. With that in mind, I know that they are going to full capacity on June 1st. And then I'm not sure if that's when they're going to launch, where they're actually going to limit masks as well. But that's going to be based on the county laws that I've seen. So anyway, with in respect to Nevada, a couple of the changes that we see taking place. Kathy, can you share with us some of those?
Well, for right now, at the current state we're in, we're at 80% capacity, and social distancing has been reduced to 3 feet in most businesses, resort areas, restaurants, bars, pretty much all of what goes on in Las Vegas. A large gathering of over 20,000 people is also approved at 3 feet social distancing with an 80% capacity, but there might be additional county guidelines throughout the state that might vary that number. But we're still following the CDC guidelines. So Nevada's all ready to roll that fully vaccinated people don't have to wear a mask or social distance. However, that may change because if a state law is different, or a certain county or a certain city has a different regulation, then we have to follow those rules. Maybe, the Las Vegas Convention Center might say, that's great, you're vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask. Well, you're working here and we're in close quarters and we're setting up all these booths. You're going to have to wear a mask while we're doing installation and dismantle. So we have to, as we keep saying over and over again, we've got to read and keep up to date with everything because it's, today is one thing and tomorrow could be something else.
Like you said when we were talking earlier, the only consistent thing is change.
Yes.
with this COVID post-pandemic world. I did see, though, that the masks are still going to be required on public transportation and at the transportation hubs to stay within the CD guidances that are still there, especially if you are not vaccinated, and they still want you to wear the masks and things like that. So when you're traveling throughout the city, you may also be required to wear a mask. My guess is those cars will also have sanitizer for their passengers.
I would think so at the stations and getting on and off.
Yeah.
So starting June 1st in Clark County, and which includes most of Las Vegas, we'll be returning to pre-pandemic guidelines and removing restrictions involving capacity limits on large gatherings, which is great news for our industry. With that, Nevada is also trying to get their OSHA to support and promote getting the vaccine in the workplace, providing vaccination locations, giving people paid time off to go get their vaccine, and encouraging people to sign up. We know that, the country is moving towards, getting fully vaccinated, but we're not quite there yet. So the state is really putting a big push on helping employers talk to their staff to get the vaccine.
Yeah, I understand that they've started coming out with some advertising pieces as well to help drive that home to their employees. So I guess the last thing too is just a reminder again that also in that city, you're definitely going to want to check on your hotel or wherever you might be staying for your staff to make sure that if the check-in rules are any different than they've used to be, and or check-out, or types of things that the hotel might want you to do in terms of social distancing or not using drinking fountains or whatever caveat they might have on there. It's something just to maybe check for your staff before you travel so that they also know what they might be up against when they arrive.
And that's something we'll be incorporating at our end as well. Before every group of carpenters go out to show site, we have a pre-meeting about what's going on, and so that'll be included in our directives about what they need to do when they're traveling, and all the safety protocols. So there'll be additional conversations at all our meetings before we go out to show site.
I think the best thing that we can take away from this is being proactive and giving yourself enough time when you're developing a new event going forward is definitely some very key things that will help you or harm you in your journey through your next event.
Totally agree.
So with that said, the last thing I'm going to say is, again, please, everybody just remember this, that the only consistent is change through this. So just keep that in mind when you are planning. I would like to thank Kathy very much for sharing her knowledge and recommendations with our clients and prospects on how to be prepared for your next event or trade show and have it be a seamless and successful event for you. I'd also like to thank our audience for joining, and I hope we brought you some very valuable and helpful insights, tips, and information as you navigate through your upcoming events. Well, if you like what you heard today on our podcast, we welcome your feedback, and we would love to start a conversation with you. The best way to do that is to send us an email at info@labexhibits.com. Or, if you'd like to learn more, please also visit us at labexhibits.com.
All rights reserved. No part of this broadcast may be reproduced or used in any manner without prior written permission from Lab Exhibits and Services Incorporated.